when compared to your suspension, it is consisting of at least two immiscible phases. More than two immiscible phases will also be present in the multiple emulsion. That is the reason it is at least two immiscible phases, one of which is dispersed in the globules, in the other liquid phase stabilized by the presence of a emulsifying agent. This, we know it. So because of this, we are going to divide into the two types. One is oil in water and water in oil emulsions. I don't want to go detail about all these because it is only a recapitulation of what you have already learned in the B form. Most of the times, the size of the oil globules which is present in the liquid droplet is 0.2 to 50 micrometers, whereas this is it is 0.01 to 0.2 mm, that is micrometer in the micro emulsions. Less than that, it will be going to the nano size. Theories of emulsification. This is very important. There are three major theories are present in the emulsification of one liquid in the other. One is surface tension theory. Another one is oriented wedge theory. Another is interfacial tension theory. Surface tension theory is based on the lowering of interfacial tension between the two liquid phases. Oriented wedge theory is also called as a monomolecular layer of emulsifying agent that are huddled around the droplet of the internal phase and prevent the coalescence. And interfacial film theory, a film of the emulsifying agent that is present at the interface that will be preventing the contact and the coalescence of the dispersed globules. So in the surface tension is reduced in one way, that is the reason coalescence is avoided, formation of the monomolecular layer, another is monomolecular film. Because of that reason, we are able to get the emulsification as a permanent. So in the monomolecular adsorption theory, rule of Bancroft is going to be applied. What is rule of Bancroft? The type of the emulsion is function of the relative solubility of the surfactant. The phase in which it is more soluble, that will become a continuous phase. Rule of Bancroft says that, say for example, whatever the emulsification, emulsifying agent you are using, that emulsifying agent is soluble in whatever the medium, whether it is oil and water, that medium will become a continuous phase, immaterial of its value. I repeat, say for example, if you are using a emulsifying agent which is water soluble, the continuous phase is water, then you will get a oil in water. If emulsifying agent is oil soluble, that oil is continuous phase, then you will get a water in oil emulsion, according to the rule of Bancroft. Multimolecular adsorption film theory. In this particular case, you are going to have a hydrocolloids. These hydrocolloids providing the protective sheath against the droplet and imparting the charge to the dispersed globules, and they increase the swelling and increases the viscosities of medium so that they will be preventing the coalescence. Most of these hydrocolloids are divided into the four categories. One is vegetable derivatives, animal derivatives, semi-synthetic derivatives, and synthetic derivatives. So synthetic derivative completely from the lab, that is carbomer, and semi-synthetic. I hope did I already gone through all of them? We have gone through emulsions till now. In a suspending agent, I have already told you this microcolloids, I think. Okay. There also you will get the hydrocolloids. So these emulsifying agents should have the ideal characteristic. One is that it should be stable. Emulsifying agent be compatible with the other ingredients which are present in the emulsion, and they need to be non-toxic. They possess the little or no odor or color or taste. It should not interfere with the stability and efficacy of the active ingredient. That is actually what the ideal characteristic of the emulsifying agent. So based on the origin, they are divided into the type of chemical nature. They are divided into the carbohydrate material, protein material, high molecular weight alcohols. There are three categories. Previously, we have calculated classified based on the Mechanism of emulsifying action, that is monopolymolecular theory, interfacial film theory, and we have got surface tension reduction theory. These are all the theories based on the mechanism of emulsification. And we have seen based on the nature, origin. One is semi-synthetic, synthetic, and natural, and these are all the classification we have already seen. Natural origin, synthetic origin, semi-synthetic origin. Now we are classifying with the chemical nature, that is carbohydrate material, protein material, alcoholic material. Carbohydrate material, agacia, triacanth, agar, pectin, these are all things which are present. These are all water soluble in nature, that is the water is a continuous phase, you will get oil in water emulsion. Protein substances like gelatin, egg yolk, casein, they are also water soluble, so you will get oil in water emulsions. High molecular weight alcohol like acetyl alcohol, cetacethyl alcohol, glyceride monostearate, they are going to get oil in water emulsion. Cholesterol, because it is soluble in oil, oil will become a continuous phase according to the rule of Bancroft, you will get water in oil emulsion. The fifth category of the emulsion, which is anionic, cationic, non-ionic. They are actually wetting agents. We have already seen in the suspensions also. The last category is the finely divided solids, that is magnesium hydroxide, aluminum hydroxide, they are from the mineral origin. Based on the action, you are going to have this classification: synthetic surface active agent, semi-synthetic, and finely divided solids. Most of the times, the reduction in interfacial film makes the emulsion thermodynamically more stable. That is the reason when compared to all microemulsions are proven to be very highly stable, because their surface tension is very, very low in the microemulsion. Because this film is a continuous monolayer which will be present at the interface, the lipophilic head will be going to the lipid side, hydrophilic head will be going to the water side, and they will be forming as a bridge between them and prevents the coalescence of the droplets. So this anionic, cationic, and non-ionic wetting agents, surfactant agents, what we have already seen, this is classified and given as an example here. These are all why it is being given a little bit extensively, because you are going to choose for your project. You need to know wide variety of it. You know in the B pharmacy itself, but I have placed in this. The cationic wetting agent, surface active agent, are called as the quaternary ammonium compounds. Non-ionic, they will be including sodium fatty esters, polyoxyethylene fatty alcohol ethers, polyoxyethylene sorbitol fatty acid esters. These polyoxyethylene, polyoxypropylene block polymers, and lanolin alcohol and ethoxylated lanolin alcohol. Whereas the anionic will be including the monovalent soaps, divalent, polyvalent soaps. Organic sulfates and sulfonates will also be used in the anionic surfactants. In the semi-synthetic, you will be having hydrocolloid emulsifying agents. They are either the multicellular, multimolecular, or monomolecular in nature. In the semi-synthetic, you will be having chemical origin, that is from natural cellulose, which will be made into different functional groups are added, so that you will be having a different properties and weights. That is the reason you are having a hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose, sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, ethyl cellulose. These are all the derivatives which you are going to have depending upon the solubility in that it is having. So they will be producing that emulsions. So these classifications we have already seen. Finely divided solids, they are having the particulate film around it. Generally, they will be forming hydrobentonite, aluminum hydroxide gel. These are all the forming in the interface. So gum, magnesium trisilicate, metallic hydroxides. These are all the classification of the particulate films. The ultimate aim is to prevent the coalescence. There are some auxiliary secondary emulsifying agent will also be used. They will be used. This will be used in the sets and smats. Sets and smats. They include the acetyl alcohol, glyceryl monostearate, and methyl cellulose, and sodium carboxymethyl cellulose stearic acid. They are in the combination. They will be also used. In addition to the emulsifying agent, we are going to use the antimicrobial preservatives. Otherwise, the natural origin emulsifying agent will be degraded, and they will most of the time soil will be undergoing rancidity by the microbial growth. Emulsion will be broken. Because of the reason, we are going to add antimicrobial preservative. They need regular ideal characteristics. What we have seen there in the emulsifying agent will be included here also. They need to be less toxic, able to heat and storage, and chemically compatible, and reasonably good cost, and not having much highest cost, acceptable taste, color, and odor, effective against the fungi, yeast, and bacteria, wide spectrum, which is required as per the antimicrobial agent. Available in oil and aqueous phase at effective concentration. Both phases it is required. Otherwise, you will get again microbial growth. Preservative should be unionized state to penetrate the bacteria. Otherwise, if it is completely in ionized state, it will be present in the soluble form, but it won't penetrate. Another thing is preservative must not bind to the another component of emulsion, and it should not be getting attracted to the packaging material also. The example of antimicrobial agent generally we use in the emulsion is antifungal agent like benzoic acid, aldehydes, formaldehyde. Generally it is broad spectrum, but restricted to the topical. Phenolics, phenol, presol. This is also put in the tropical but broad spectrum. Propyl parahydroxybenzoate. This is also a phenolic compound. Quaternaries, chlorhexidine salts, benzalkonium chloride, cetyl trimethyl ammonium bromide, which will be used in the quaternary head. Mercurials, phenyl mercuric nitrate, because of the lead poisoning. That is the reason it is restricted to use now. Another category of excipient we are going to use in the emulsion is antioxidant. Antioxidant prevents the rancidity of oil by making the reduction in the oxidation at the double bond and cleaning oil into the fractions and making oil foul-smelled. Oil it will be getting. So for that purpose, we need to use antioxidant. Most of the times, auto-oxidation occurs by the free radical reaction that will be assisted by light also. So photo-oxidation also we need to prevent. We will see a little bit later. It can be prevented by the offset of oxygen and free radical chain breaking or by reducing agent. Three mechanisms are used. Examples of the antioxidant include gallic acid, propyl gallate, ascorbic acid, sulfite, sodium sulfite, sodium metabisulfite. The sodium metabisulfite generally it is used, altocopherol. These agents which will be acting as an antioxidants. Now we will be seeing the factors which will be making the emulsion unstable. If at any time if you are finding my voice is breaking, let me know. Emulsification is not a spontaneous process, hence the emulsion must having a minimum stability. Because of that reason, we are going to enter into the self-emulsifying systems a little bit later. Reason for instability can be understood by the nature of the immiscible phases and their interfacial tensions. When the two immiscible liquids are agitated together, polar and the non-polar liquids are mixed together. One of the forms the small globules and other is dispersed in the other forms the emulsion. Most of the four sides of the instability is generally faced in the pharmaceutical field. One is coalescence, another one is flocculation, creaming, and breaking. Breaking is the worst form of instability. It is worth to throw away when compared to your coalescence, flocculation, and creaming. The first one is the flocculation. The neighboring globules are coming closer to each other, but they will not be getting merged. They will be coming closer as a clump. And this clump breaking and the flocculation can be reversible by shaking. That is the reason we are going to have a chemical nature of the emulsifier, and the phase emulsion ratio is required to be used in the tackling of this particular problem. The concentration of dissolved substances, specifically electrolytes and ionic emulsifiers, that will also making the coalescence, which will be taking most of the time coalescence, flocculation. Surface charge attraction, if it is present, then it will be having a flocculation. But the flocculation may result into the creaming, further it is into the breaking. But before that, it is not an issue, because we are shaking the bottle again, they will be coming to the individual globules. The extent of the flocculation depending upon the size distribution and the charge and the viscosity. These three parameters we need to control. Most of the times, size distribution should be equal, and it should be narrow and not widely distributed. Globule size distribution, uniform size, and charge on the globule surface. If it is having lesser, then it will be having attraction forces dominated, it will be present. Then if it is repulsion forces dominated, it will be present as a separate entity. So the charge on the globules exist repulsive forces with the neighboring globules that will cause the globules to stay apart. This can be achieved by the ionic sulfate emulsifying agent or by using an electrolytes method of your suspensions. That is the reason I don't want to go a little bit deeper, because we have already seen, again it is repetition now. Viscosity of the external medium is obviously, you know it, that will prevent the settling according to the Stokes law. Viscosity and the rate of settling is inversely proportional to the viscosity of the external medium. So once the external medium viscosity is increased, the globules will be falling very slowly. This enhanced viscosity can be achieved by adding the viscosity improving agents, or they are also called as viscosity building agent or thickening agents. Generally, hydrocolloids and waxes are present. Hydrocolloids for the water continuous phase, waxes are used for the oil continuous phases. Flask slowly move either upward or downward direction to cause the creaming, and flocculation is due to the interaction of the attractive and repulsive forces, whereas the creaming is due to the density differences. Flocculation is changes in the charge, and the creaming is the changes in the density. Most of the times, the oil globule tend to cream because they are in the light weight. They will be going because of the density at to the top. Whereas the flocculation, they will be made as a agglomerates of a globules, and they are coming closer because of the attractive forces. So after the flocculation, the second instability sign is creaming. Creaming is upward movement. Why it is generally called as upward one? You can get the downward movement also, provided if oil is heavier than the water. Generally, oils are lighter, so it is upward movement of the dispersed globule. Emulsion relative to the continuous phase. Due to the density differences between the two phases, oil is lighter, so they tend to go to the top. Creaming is the concentration of the globule at the top and the bottom of the emulsion. Droplet larger than 1 mm may settle preferably to the top, that is, or the bottom, depending upon the density of the oil which is present. Creaming may also be observed on the account of the differences in the individual globules, movement rather than the individual globules. In the flasks, they are collective globules. It can be observed by the differences in the colors and the shapes of the layers, and it can be seen visibly also. It is a reversible process, both flocculation and the creaming also a reversible process. And because of this protective sheath, they will be not forming as a coalescence globule. Creaming results in lack of uniformity of the distribution that leads to the variable dosage. That is the reason it is not worth to consider and not worth to take it as granted. Therefore, the emulsion should be taken thoroughly before use. Creaming of two types: creaming downward creaming and creaming upward creaming. Upward creaming is due to the dispersed phase is less dense than the continuous phase. This will be happening. Most of the times, this will happen in upward creaming in oil in water emulsions. Creaming, it is the dispersed phase is heavier than the it will be generally happening in water and oil emulsions because generally water is heavier than the oil. Creaming is influenced by the globule size, difference in the densities and viscosity of the medium. We can prevent by reducing the particle size to be smaller, increasing the external viscosity, and reducing the difference between the two densities. Reduction in the two densities between the purges, it is not in our hand. That is the reason we tend to increase the viscosity of the external phase. At the same time, we reduce the particle size by the homogenization, making it to smaller to prevent the creaming. These questions in the examination you will be asked most of the times. They are the instability sign of the emulsions and how to prevent them, how to handle them in the formulation development. That is in the pre-combination studies. That question will be expected to write all these things. The third sign of the coalescence, this part you have already seen in the B form itself, you can easily understand. The coalescence is the third one. It is a little bit worst sign of the instability. It is the aggregation of the dispersed particles together but do not fuse. And that is complete phase separation like a breaking is not there, but dispersed globule coalescence is the process by which the emulsified particles merge each other to form the larger particles. It means your small globule will become larger and larger, just like Ostwald wipening, tripling what you see in the suspensions. The type of closed packing induces the greater cohesion, which leads to the coalescence. Once it is becoming bigger and bigger, because of the size is bigger, they will be forming as a continuous layer little bit later, and it will form as a breaking or the cracking of emulsion. In this process, the emulsion film around the globule is destroyed to some extent, and this step can be recognized as the increased globule size and reduce the number of globules. The same effect we have already found in the Ostwald ripening. Coalescence is observed due to the insufficient amount of the emulsifying agent. That is the reason monomolecular is not formed, or the sufficient film particulate matter is not present, or the insufficient concentration, which is having reduction in the surface tension, is not to the extent which is required. After the partitioning of the emulsifying agent, that is another one. It is present most of the times where the bitter ion effect is present, or change in the pHs. The partitioning of the emulsifying agent will be altered. These changes in the pH may be due to the microbial growth, or by adding any agents or the excipient that will cause the alter the changes in pH of the emulsion. Incompatibility between the emulsions will also have the problem when we are using. This will happen most of the times in the METs and the sets. We are going to add a couple of emulsifying agents. We need to consider this parameter. Otherwise, what will happen? We are going to have as an issue. Are you going to see now the slides, Neha? Which slide you are seeing? I am not able to find out. Which slide you are finding?
Yes, sir. Now I am able to see, sir. Coalescence, sir. Coalescence, sir.
Okay, no problem. Another issue with the coalescence is the phase volume ratio. When the phase volume ratio is very higher, and the higher volume of the phase volume ratio extending more than the 75%, up to 75% of the dispersed phase, which can be accommodated as a stable emulsion. Beyond it, it will be having a conversion of that dispersed globule into a continuous phase. Then it will be reversed. Emulsion will be reversed, and because of the coalescence. So the phase value ratio of emulsion has the secondary influence on the stability of the product and represents the relative volume of water in oil or oil in water, depending upon the whatever the emulsion. The major factor to prevent the coalescence is the mechanical strength of the interfacial film that required to be strong. That can be protected by the antimicrobial agent and preventing the changes in the pH by adding the buffers. And the last sign, that is the fourth sign, is the breaking. It is the worst sign of emulsion. It will make the emulsion to be thrown out. Above 3 can be reversible and can be manageable. And of course, the coalescence is also some risk. But breaking is the worst part of it. Breaking is destroying the film completely surrounding the particles. And you are going to get two phases completely separated and visible with the naked eye. Separation of the internal phase and external phase is called as the breaking of an emulsion. This is indicated by the complete separation of the oil and the aqueous phase. It is an irreversible process. That is simply mixing cannot cause the emulsion to be made with each. It is not possible. It is to redisperse the globule into the uniform emulsion. It is not possible. In the breaking, the protective sheath around the globule is completely destroyed, and the oil tend to coalescence and form a separate layer. Because of that reason, there is no interfacial barrier. Even if you shake also, they will not be again converting into emulsion. Even they form as a globule, again they will be merging together to form as a continuous layer. One thing is actually called as a phase inversion. This is critically we need to study. The coalescence advanced into the breaking. That is, we have seen it is the worst part of it. So the fourth is the phase inversion. Phase inversion is also sign of instability, but intentionally we make it as a step in our manufacture to get a stable emulsions which are thermodynamically stable. What is this phase inversion? This involves the change in the emulsion type, oil to water, water to oil, depending upon the requirement. We will be having a phase inversion process. This is actually a tool to make a stable emulsion. I have already told you. When we intend to prepare the one type of emulsion, say oil and water, then what will we do it? We add emulgent, water soluble, so that water will become a continuous phase. And if final emulsion is termed to be out to be water in oil, it can be termed as a sign of instability. Because we want to prepare oil and water, but we got water in oil, it is a sign of instability. But if we want to make it as a intentional one, by making it the sign of instability as intentional to get a stable emulsion, this is one tool in a manufacturing methodology. Most of the times, phase inversion by the changing the temperature and the composition or the pH of the one. Sometimes the submersible, the phase inversion by the changing the temperature means some excipients and the polymers, they will vary their solubility depending upon the temperature. So oil soluble excipient may become water soluble at different temperatures. That makes the changes in the oil in water and oil in water because of the rule of Bancroft. Most of the times, we use the extemporaneous methods in the pre-formulation. Any one of these will be used as a tool in the R&D. The same will be taken to the higher level in the production and pilot plant and the production also. The primitive one, which is generally followed by the order of addition in the emulsion, is dry gum method and wet gum method, Forbes bottle method, and auxiliary method. In the dry gum method, we are going to take as a 4:2:1 as a ratios of the oil, water, and the gum. In the wet gum method, 4:2:1 volume of the oil and water and the part of the gum same. But here in the dry gum method, we will be mixing our gum with the oil. In the wet gum method, we will mix the emulgent with the water. Then we add the remaining. This is actually wet gum and the dry gum. Forbes bottle method, the emulsion from the volatile oils and the oleogen substances of the low viscosity, powdered acacia plus 2 parts of the oil, first it will be getting mixed and which will be bottled, and this will be shaken with a continuous phase. Later onwards, it will be made into a volume up to the mark. In the auxiliary method, hand homogenizer is present. It is containing a homogenizer head, and there is a small annular space, just like your colloidal mill, that will break the globule into very fine globules, and they will be again made into a viscous suspension emulsion. Then it will be diluted with adding a continuous later and making it a volume up to the mark. These methodologies which will be selected depending upon our what type of emulsion we are using in the pre-formulation stage, that approach has to be adapted at the higher level also. Most of the times, heat is one emulsification by the phase inversion which will be there, emulsification by the vaporization, and low energy emulsification is used for the heating. Why this heating is used as to get the stable emulsion? Most of the times heat is the process which will make the emulsion to be destabilized. But still we use sometimes heating as an approach because we want to use the heat where you are having a changes in the solubility of emulsion varied. Say for example, if your higher temperature of 80 degrees, your emulsion formed is emulgent is soluble in oil, then you will get a oil as a continuous phase, water in oil emulsion you will get. Once you cool it, then what will happen? The oil will be going as a dispersed phase and water will be a continuous phase. This emulsion is going to be very stable because we have already created the sign of instability and brought to the stable. So emulsion behaving with stability. It will also act as a low energy emulsification because we are increasing the temperature. All the globules and the continuous phase are having less viscosity and dispersion is very easy. Sometimes emulsification done by the vaporization by adding a volatile liquids in that the emulsion is dissolved into a solution and making the emulsion with the desired solubility. But once the solvent is evaporated, the alteration of the solubility will make the reversion of your phase inversion. That will, these are the things which we are using as a phase inversion approaches by using the heat. Most of the times we are using the mechanical equipment for the agitation only. We are going to use homogenization and the colloidal mill to break the globule size very finer and finer. So this may be agitators, may be mechanical stirrers or propellers or colloidal mills or ultrasonic waves. Ultrasonic waves is the tool which will be producing the final globules. We are having a primary emulsion and the secondary emulsion stages. We can have the multiple ultrasonic exposures so that we will be having a globule size reduced. So the major 4 types of equipment what we are going to use in the emulsification is mechanical stirring, that is containing a impeller. Stirring the globules of the dispersed in the continuous phase. Propeller mixtures, they are the high-speed mixtures, having a rotation even up to 10,000 RPM. Colloidal mill, that is having a rotor and stator, in between it is having a gap. In that gap, the globules are broken into the smaller and smaller globule sizes. Ultrasonic sonifiers, they are the ultrasonic waves, the probe sonicator or the bath sonicator, both the options are available. Generally, the probe sonicator, we are going to have it, as the probe is having ultrasonic waves, which induces the reduction in the globule size. Detection of the emulsion is a critical method whenever before we are acting as an in-process quality control tool. In the pre-formulation and the development of our formulation, we need to test that what emulsion we have got it. Even though it is visible to the naked eye, it will be seen because we see the oil in water and water in oil emulsions can be easily differentiated by the naked eye. But it is better to test by the different approaches like dilution test, conductivity test, dye-solubility test, refractive index measurement, and filter paper test. The type of emulsion, either it is water in oil and oil in water, can be known. It is known to you as in the B form level. The first one is the dilution test. In dilution test, you are diluting your liquid, that is emulsion, with any phase. If it is a continuous phase, it will be diluted without any problem. Otherwise, it will form as a globules. It indicates that if you are adding a water, it couldn't be diluted without any problem. Means the oil in water emulsion you have got. So if you are making oil added to your emulsion, it is diluted without any problem. Means your water in oil, that dilution can be easily known. Conductivity test. Water is a good conducting medium when compared to oil, so the poor conductivity can be observed in the water in oil emulsion when compared to oil in water emulsion. Dye solubility test. We are going to add a water soluble dye. If the continuous emulsion is preparing as a colored, then it is a continuous phase. We can name it as a oil in water. If you are adding oil soluble dye, it is only in the concentrated in the globules, then it is considered as a oil in water emulsion. Or if it is completely oil soluble dye, you added completely emulsion is appearing as a color, then it is a water in oil emulsion. Refractive index measurement, we know that each liquid has got its own refractive index. When it is a continuous phase, that refractive index will be reflected and it will be measurement, it will be seen. Whatever the continuous phase is present, it is oil and water. In the filter paper method, the globules which are present that will be having an impact on the wetting of the oil which is present or water which is present. According to that, you can make the oil in water or water in emulsion known. I am making this initial preparatory part so that we can enter into sets and SMETs in the next class comfortably. Emulsions can be used for the following dosage forms. One is for the oils and oil in water parenterals and topical products. Topical products generally more frequently which we are going to use is the semi-solid cream. That is actually what used. And most of the times in the IV route we are going to use the oil in water emulsions. Oil products, generally we are making it in the oral format to give more palatability and better absorption. That is actually the oral route. So oral route, parenteral route and topical route. In all the cases which we are having a patient acceptance better, that is the reason we are going to give this, and bioavailability better because it is present in the solubilized state and having the highest surface area.